Like the fella once said, ain't that a kick in the head?
Sorry, it's a Monday. Felt like a little Dino for you. And Carlo, KTAR-FM, glad to have you along. All right, so Senator John McCain in a bit of trouble with his constituents, as are a number of other Republicans who are holding hands and singing Kumbaya with Teddy Kennedy. This is what the senator had to say over the weekend.
That's what legislation is about, is coming together, agreeing on principles, and then making compromises where necessary, but not on principle. There was no principles in that bill that I didn't agree with.
Hey, hang on a second. Rob, pull the audio from Friday when I had all the senators and president and everybody saying it was a piece of crap legislation, but they were voting for it anyway, would you? Yeah, the montage, or just pull each one individually. Either way you want to do it. Because on one hand, he's saying it's not something I would have written. On this hand, he's saying, well, it's a pretty good doggone piece of legislation. Senator, please, just pick your side. That way we'll know how to vote for or against you, would you? David Nix knows far too well how Senator John McCain works. He's a former chairman of the McCain Campaign Committee in Aiken City, South Carolina. David, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking my call this morning.
Thank you, Daryl.
All right, so first of all, you are an ardent Republican. You've been a diehard John McCain fan. You've done what you could to move him to the next level. But last week, I was reading in the paper, you're out. You quit the campaign. What's going on?
Well, I've had it with him and Lindsey McGraham, our senator from South Carolina, who's chairing his campaign. Their business here with this amnesty bill is just too much for me and frankly for the voters of South Carolina.
Now, when we look at it, we do call it amnesty, and we've walked through it here on the show several times. Each piece of this legislation, the loopholes that are attached to it, and every time we do, Senator Kyle, Senator McCain, because they're Arizona senators, will let us know, hey, it's not amnesty, stop calling it amnesty. You and I both know that's exactly what's on the table here.
That's exactly right. In fact, the McCain campaign, in trying to do a little bit of brush fire fighting over my resignation, said that basically what they've been told here in South Carolina by Senator McCain's campaign, that this is the best bill that we can do, that if they took the amnesty out, the liberals wouldn't vote for it.
Wow. How sad is that commentary? And again, when I saw Ted Kennedy standing up there several weeks ago with the likes of Senator John McCain and John Kyle, I thought, this has got to be one of those historic mess-ups that I've ever seen. Teddy Kennedy, if his name is anywhere near to it, you've got to stop and ask, okay, what's the angle? And it just seems that they want something in writing, David, that they don't even care what's in there anymore. They just want to say, we were a part of creating some legislation dealing with the immigration issue here.
That's right. And here in South Carolina, the folks that talk to me keep asking me, why aren't we just enforcing the laws we have?
Right. And what's the answer?
Why aren't we building a fence?
Yeah, but what is the answer? You've been involved there in South Carolina in helping get a number of Republicans elected. It's a question we have here as well, and it's one that I never get an answer to. Why haven't we just said, we've got laws on the books, we don't need a whole comprehensive reform bill, just do what you're told to do in the first place?
And the only answer that I can see is that these guys are wanting to work together with Teddy Kennedy and that whole crowd. The voters here in South Carolina, if we were voting today, we would not reelect Lindsey Graham.
Is that right? And again, Lindsey Graham, they talked of him of being a presidential hopeful after the whole Clinton debacle, because he did come front and center, and he was the voice of reason, and he was somebody we all looked and said, man, that guy's good. So right now he's that far behind the curve, huh?
Right, we're puzzled here. We don't know what's happened to him. We're as dismayed to see him with Teddy Kennedy. When he and John McCain went and asked Teddy Kennedy how they should vote on Senator Jim DeMint's amendment, just flabbergasted us.
All right, let me walk you through a little audio from Senator John McCain, because I want to find out if he's talking about you here for a second, okay? By the way, if you're just tuning in, former chairman of the McCain campaign in Aiken City, South Carolina, David Nix is with me. Let me see if I can find this audio for you. John McCain, I think he's talking about you.
A more conservative, anti-immigrant, anti-legislation group were very well backed up by a very vocal group of people that were supporting them.
What is that? All of a sudden, anybody who's against this legislation, sir, is now anti-immigrant. I've never said that on my show. Have you said that publicly? Are you anti-immigrant?
Absolutely not. People who come here legally, I've talked to businessmen here in my city who have immigrated here legally. They're as outraged over this amnesty bill as we are.
Yeah, I hear that on a regular basis.
Not an immigration issue, it's an amnesty issue.
I hear it on a regular basis here as well. And yet, we continue to let these senators play their cards. And again, Teddy Kennedy over the weekend, Dianne Feinstein over the weekend said this is not dead. Even George W. Bush came out and he said this is not dead. It's going to take some leadership. I'm coming back home. We're going to get this thing passed. So as somebody who served, for the Republican Party and for John McCain for all these years, do you see this as the president coming in and playing hardball and getting this done, or has he lost any clout that he had in order to get that job done?
I think he's lost his clout. We don't know what to think about the president and his coalition with Ted Kennedy and Harry Reid, McCain, and Graham. It's baffling.
Walk me through, if you will, for the last minute or two that I've got you. When you talk about baffling and when you talk about the situation as we have it here, walk me through the process of the love for a George W. Bush, because he's had polling numbers in the upper 30 percentile range as of late, but most of that has been from the Republican Party. Seems to me that if I did a poll right now, his numbers would plummet to the teens, because it seems that even the diehard Republicans, you being one of them, are saying, look, you've lost me, brother. I can't work with you any longer.
It's getting that way here in South Carolina. Definitely in my mind. I'm standing with Senator DeMint and the crowd, the few Republicans that are standing there proudly saying we're not giving an amnesty bill, and they'll be standing up against George Bush should he keep pushing this. Yeah,
it's amazing that he's willing to push when he realizes so many people are against it. It really is.
I urge Senator Reid to act quickly to bring this bill back to the Senate floor for a vote, and I urge senators from both parties to support it. The immigration debate has divided too many Americans. By coming together, we can build an immigration system worthy of this great nation.
That's the president from his weekend address. So what do you think the outcome is going to be? Having been somebody on the inside, you think that they're going to muster the votes to get this done, or is this thing dead and they're going to have to rewrite?
I think this thing's dead. They're going to have to rewrite. Let's come out with if we're going to do some reform, let's keep it simple and not over 1,000 pages. Let's make it something that people can understand, and let's not make it amnesty.
Yeah, it always amazes me that when you try to take something on of this focus, when you bring the politicians and the lawyers into it, all of a sudden it goes from 5 pages to 200 pages to 300 pages to a lot more. Just make it simple. Just lay it out instead of all these loopholes that are built into it. David Nix, before you get out of here, so what's your next step then? Are you waiting for another player to come into South Carolina and you'll jump in and help him or her be elected, or are you out of politics for a while?
I'm looking at what's going on. I'm interested to see what Fred Thompson has to say and what his impact's going to be on the campaign. I've got a number of friends who are working with Mitt Romney who've been calling me and asking me to get on board with them, and I'm just going to sit back for a little while. I want to see where everybody comes out on this debate.
Last question that I have for you, knowing that John Kyle and John McCain both listen to this show when they're in town and their offices are listening right now, you as someone who are trying so hard to get him elected president, what do you say to him right now using these airwaves? What do you say to Senator John McCain?
Senator McCain, I'm disappointed in you. I don't know what to think about this coalition that you pulled together with the liberal Democrats. We don't have to bow down to them. We need to stand for our conservative Republican principles.
David Nix, I will stay in touch with you, and I will watch what happens with everything in South Carolina. Thanks for jumping on the show.
Thank you, Darryl.
Absolutely.